Welcome to Chamber Champions. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, Utah's voice for business. Each week, we take the opportunity to speak with leaders from business, government, education, and community service organizations who are making a difference in Utah. As a Chamber Champion, these individuals are recognized for their contributions and provided a forum to empower their vision and objectives. Today we're joined with Dr. Mark Rapaport, the CEO of the Huntsman Mental Health Institute. Dr. Rapaport, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really an honor to be here.
You know, it's amazing when we think of this new organization, the new Mental Health Institute. You're the inaugural CEO, and this is a great opportunity for us on the Chamber Champions series to get to know you a little bit, but also get to know about this new organization. So tell us about the organization, and then tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm glad to do that. You know, the Huntsman Mental Health Institute is really the first of its kind in the world. It's the first place where we get a partnership between a wonderful, thoughtful family, the Huntsman family, who are really active partners in this, with the University of Utah that's agreed to address the third rail of illness, mental illness, and the state. Our state has been remarkable here in Utah. There are very few states that have made the effort to say, hey, we're going to do something about suicide. We're going to do something about crisis care. We're going to address these issues head on. And what that's led to is the Huntsman Mental Health Institute. The goal of this institute is to not skate to where the puck is, but where the puck is going to be. The goal of this institute is to bring together the best minds in the world to tackle the toughest problems that we face: stigma, problems with children developing mental illness, suicide, rural mental health. And we're going to bring together everyone from policymakers to attorneys and lawyers and people involved in law to basic scientists to tackle these problems in a holistic way, something that's never been done anywhere in the world. And that's actually why I came here. I was at Emory University and had a great job. I was the chairman of psychiatry and behavioral sciences, the chief psychiatric officer for Emory Healthcare, and had co-founded and co-directed a brain health center at Emory. It was a great job. But this opportunity to transform mental health, not just in Utah, but throughout the United States and beyond, is what attracted me to come here to the state of Utah.
Well, you mentioned the Huntsman family, and of course the Huntsman Mental Health Institute is possible because of the vision and a generous donation from the Huntsman family. Here at the Salt Lake Chamber, we certainly appreciate everything that they do for our community. What will some of the first priorities? Obviously, when you start a new organization, this subject matter is not new to you. So where do you think that the Huntsman Mental Health Institute ought to get focused first?
Sure. Well, you know, the first priority with any new institute is you got to get to know the territory. So we're engaged in a very active strategic planning process right now. And in fact, we've reached out to the chamber to be part of that process. We believe that we have to engage and understand our state better. So one of the things we're doing is, thanks to a gift from the Cambia Foundation and funds from the Huntsman family, we're about to launch a statewide health needs assessment for the entire state. We'll be looking at issues around workforce. We'll be looking at issues around access to services. And we're going to use this as part of our strategic planning process to really understand and hear from people in different parts of the state and from different underrepresented groups within the state what their needs are. And that's going to help to define how we tackle stigma or how we tackle child mental health issues or suicide within our state. So those are some of the initial steps that we're taking right now. But at the end of this month, I have the former CEO of the American Association of Medical Colleges, one of the premier people in American medicine, Daryl Kirch, and one of the leaders in social movements, a man named Seth Kahan, speaking with us at the Huntsman Mental Health Institute about how we could potentially launch a nationwide campaign about mental health stigma, how we could serve as a backbone and organizing entity for all the wonderful existing programs that are attempting to address stigma, but do so in sort of a piecemeal fashion. So we're very excited about that, as we are with the strategic planning process and the needs assessment process.
You mentioned the partnership between the Mental Health Institute and the Salt Lake Chamber, which we also appreciate. This is an area of importance for us, and at the Chamber, we focus on mental health and mental fitness in the workplace through our foundation, the Utah Community Builders Foundation. Of course, you know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So one of the things that we're trying to do throughout the month, not just the year, but with a specific focus this month, is raising that awareness. What do you think, Dr. Rapaport, that business leaders, business owners, CEOs ought to know about mental fitness and in the workplace? What would you, if you had the opportunity to talk to that group, what would you tell them?
The first thing I'd tell them is that investing in mental health is good business sense. Investing in wellness and mental health is going to decrease absenteeism. It's going to decrease presenteeism. It's going to enhance productivity of the workforce that you have. It's going to increase the creativity of your workforce as well. It will also do things that are sort of secondary gains. So, for example, we know that people that have mental disorders plus co-occurring physical disorders like diabetes or obesity or heart disease are the people that do worst with those disorders. They have most trouble taking their medicines. They have most trouble adhering to diets or increasing exercise. And so it makes good business sense to invest in having good, proactive mental health care. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. That's an important message.
Are there things that business leaders ought to be doing in the workplace to help reduce the stigma? And at the same time that they're raising awareness, that they're reducing the stigma of mental health challenges?
That's a great question, and of course there are. One of the first things that leaders in the business community, and realize that because you're leaders of your companies and of industries, your words have tremendous weight. They have more weight than you imagine. If you as leaders begin to discuss the fact that diseases of the brain, diseases of the most important and largest organ in the body, aren't character flaws and aren't weaknesses, but are actually physical diseases that require the same type of attention as heart disease or diabetes or high blood pressure, just by doing that, you're going to begin to break down stigma. If you discuss with your employees the fact that simple things that they can do can help them with their brain, not drinking much alcohol, trying to get a reasonable amount of sleep, getting physical activity. We know physical activity can decrease signs and symptoms of depression. It can decrease anxiety, and it also can decrease the risk of developing dementias. So really simple things around diet, around exercise, around sleep, around taking time to appreciate life and being positive. Just positive thoughts can mitigate some of the early challenges that their employees are going to have.
One of the resources that we've put together here at the Salt Lake Chamber is a toolkit for employers helping to prevent suicide and mental illness in the workplace. And we appreciate the fact that the University of Utah is a contributor to that and has worked with us on that. I've asked you a couple questions about what employers can do. The last question I want to ask you is about employees, the individuals themselves. As you are going out into the community, you've obviously had a long and distinguished career in this field. What would be your message to those individuals who may be struggling with mental illness?
Well, I think there are a couple of things that I would say as I hijack your question. One is to understand that with COVID and COVID-19 and with the social isolation we've had, with the combination many times of work life with home life that we've had, where people have had to work from home and children many times have been kept out of school and had to do remote learning, people are under a tremendous amount of stress. Families are under a tremendous amount of stress. We know that there's increased problems with alcohol and substance use. We know there's been increased problems with domestic violence during this period of time. We know also that people that lived alone have really suffered from that social isolation. So one of the things to do is understand that the stress that you're feeling, the anxiety, the depression you're feeling, the trauma that you're going through are to be expected at this time of crisis. But there are plenty of resources available. We're blessed being here in Utah that we have an app available called Safe UT that people can use, and people can text with that app and 24/7 get responses to those texts. We're blessed that we have a centralized crisis line here in Utah, and one can call the crisis line throughout the state 24/7, and there will be a mental health professional on that other end to talk with you in an anonymous fashion, to give you guidance and help, and can also connect you up to resources throughout the state that's available to you. It's also important for you to realize that this is normal. Under the best of circumstances, 1 in 4 individuals is going to have a major psychiatric disorder at some point in their life. Under the current circumstances, over 40% of people are reporting signs and symptoms of depression and anxiety. It is normal. It is reasonable to get help. A vast majority of the people that seek help will only need very brief contact and very brief help, and sometimes it's merely the initial contact plus being guided towards self-help resources that are here in the community. So seek help, realize it's not a flaw, it's not a personality weakness, it's normal, and it's an appropriate response, and we can treat it.
Dr. Mark Rapaport, CEO of the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, thank you for everything that you're doing in our community, and thanks for joining us today on the Chamber Champions.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. And thank you and the Chamber for all you do to help everyone in our community.